Picture this. It's Monday morning. Your alarm goes off at 6:30 a.m. You hit snooze once. Then twice. Eventually you drag yourself out of bed, not because you feel rested, but because you have to. You rush through the same routine you've repeated hundreds of times. Shower. Coffee. Clothes that look professional enough for the office. Then you step into traffic or onto a crowded train with hundreds of other people who look just as tired as you feel. By the time you arrive at work, you've already spent an hour or two of your day preparing for a job that technically hasn't even started yet. You open your laptop. Answer emails. Sit through meetings that could have been a message. Watch the clock slowly crawl toward lunchtime, then toward 5 o'clock. And when the workday finally ends, you're too exhausted to do anything meaningful with the rest of your evening. So you order takeout. Scroll your phone. Watch a show you barely care about. Then you fall asleep knowing tomorrow will look almost exactly the same. You tell yourself this is normal. Everyone works 9 to 5. Everyone is tired. Everyone is doing their best. But what if I told you that the system you're participating in might actually be making you poorer the harder you work? It sounds absurd at first. Work more, earn more. That's the rule we've all been taught since childhood. Study hard. Get a good job. Work full-time. Climb the ladder. But there's a hidden equation most people never calculate. And when you finally run the numbers, the 9 to 5 lifestyle starts to look less like stability and more like a financial trap. Because the real cost of your job is not just the hours you spend at your desk. It's the invisible expenses and time leaks that surround it. Once you see them, you can't unsee them. Let's start with the biggest illusion of all, salary. When people talk about their job, they almost always talk about the big number. 50,000 a year. 70,000. Maybe 100,000. It sounds impressive. It feels like progress. But businesses know something that most employees never think about. Revenue means nothing without expenses. Imagine a small coffee shop that sells $1 million worth of coffee every year. That sounds like a wildly successful business. But if the owner spends $1 million on rent, beans, salaries, equipment, and utilities, the business made exactly $0. Revenue without profit is meaningless. And yet that is exactly how most people evaluate their careers. They look only at income. They completely ignore the cost of generating that income. To understand how this plays out in real life, let's imagine a fictional character. His name is Toby. Toby is 32 years old and works at a mid-sized marketing company earning $65,000 a year. On paper, that sounds like a respectable salary. If you divide that salary across a standard 40-hour workweek, Toby appears to earn around $31 per hour. That number feels comfortable. It feels like the reward for years of education and hard work. But that number is also completely misleading. Before Toby even sees his paycheck, a large portion disappears in taxes. Federal taxes, payroll taxes, and deductions quietly reduce his income. Suddenly $31 per hour becomes something closer to $24. Most people stop the math right there, but that's only the beginning. Because Toby has to spend money in order to have this job. First there's the commute. Toby drives about 30 minutes each way to the office. That's an hour of driving every workday. Gas, insurance, maintenance, and the slow depreciation of his car quietly drain thousands of dollars every year. Then there's the cost of appearance. Toby can't show up to work wearing whatever he wants. He buys work clothes, replaces worn-out shoes, and pays for regular haircuts so he looks professional. These expenses seem small individually, but over time they quietly add up. Then there is what we might call the convenience tax. Because Toby works all day, he often doesn't have the time or energy to cook. So he buys lunch a few times a week. Maybe a coffee in the morning and another in the afternoon when the energy crash hits. $5 here. $10 there. It feels insignificant in the moment, but multiply it across an entire year and the total becomes surprisingly large. There's also another category of spending that's harder to notice. Stress spending. After long days at work, Toby feels mentally drained. So he does things that make the stress feel easier to tolerate. Ordering food instead of cooking. Buying things online late at night. Planning weekend escapes just to mentally recover from the workweek. These purchases don't happen randomly. They are reactions to the job itself. The job creates the stress. The stress creates the spending. When you add taxes, commuting, convenience purchases, and lifestyle spending together, a huge portion of Toby's salary disappears before it ever becomes real wealth. But the money side of the equation is only half the story. Because wages depend on two variables, money and time. And just like most people overestimate their income, they also underestimate how much time their job truly consumes. On paper, Toby works 40 hours per week. But reality looks very different. He wakes up early to prepare for work. Showering, dressing, and getting organized might take 45 minutes each morning. Then there's the commute, which adds an hour every day. During lunch breaks he technically isn't working, but he also can't truly use that time for himself. He's still tied to the workplace. He can't relax at home or spend meaningful time with family. He's simply waiting for the next part of the workday to begin. Now the job isn't just a source of income. It becomes a requirement for maintaining the lifestyle that income created. Work produces income. Income produces lifestyle. Lifestyle produces dependency. Dependency keeps people locked into the system. But something powerful happens when you stop measuring prices in dollars and start measuring them in time. Imagine Toby calculates his real hourly wage and realizes it's around $12. Now he walks into a store and sees a pair of shoes priced at $120. Most people see the price and think about money. But Toby now sees something different. 10 hours of his life. 10 hours of commuting, meetings, deadlines, and stress. Suddenly the purchase feels very different. Because money can be earned again. Time cannot. Every purchase is not just a financial transaction. It is an exchange of life energy. Once you start viewing money this way, your spending decisions begin to change naturally. You pause more often. You question whether the trade is truly worth it. But recognizing the problem is only the first step. The real goal is increasing your life efficiency. Instead of focusing only on earning more, you begin optimizing the relationship between time, money, and freedom. Sometimes that means reducing the costs associated with work. Working remotely can eliminate commuting expenses and return hours of time every week. Cooking at home can dramatically reduce convenience spending. Living closer to work can remove a major daily burden. Other times it means building income streams that are less dependent on trading time for money. Skills that create leverage. Investments that grow over time. Projects that continue generating income even when you are not actively working. The ultimate goal is not just earning more money. The real goal is gaining more control over your time. Because time is the only resource that truly matters. The wealthiest people in the world are not simply those with the largest bank accounts. They are the ones with the greatest control over how they spend their days. The 9-to-5 system itself is not inherently bad. For many people it provides stability and structure. But it becomes dangerous when people assume it is the only path available, and when they never question the hidden costs attached to it. The moment you start analyzing your life the way a business analyzes its finances, everything changes. You start noticing inefficiencies. You begin cutting unnecessary expenses. You protect your time more carefully.
Slowly the gap between what you earn and what you spend begins to grow. That gap is where freedom lives. Not in the size of your salary, but in the distance between your obligations and your choices. So here's a simple challenge. This weekend, sit down with a calculator. Estimate your taxes, your commuting costs, your work-related spending, the extra hours your job quietly consumes. Then calculate your real hourly wage. Write that number somewhere you'll see it often. Because once you understand the true value of your time, every financial decision becomes clearer. And the 9-to-5 system stops being an invisible trap and becomes something you can measure, optimize, and eventually escape.